Get Off My Hair is the 13th episode of the second season of 2.5 Men. It's directed by Pamela Fryman. I'm not going to even attempt the Polish pronunciation because I will make an absolute fool of myself. But this is a pretty good episode. There will be spoilers from now as I discuss what happens in this. And I don't have extensive notes, but I have some and I will go through them. And in general, I like this. We get a lot of Judith. I really like Judith as a character, and this is certainly a really interesting episode. It actually starts off pretty powerfully. Immediately, we have the earthquake, everything is shaking, and then we learn that Alan has actually invited Judith to stay at Charlie's house because there's been some damage to the plumbing as a result of the earthquake. Charlie is not very happy about this, but Judith is actually really nice and pleasant, and it's quite strange for her to be thankful to Charlie and being nice around Charlie. Obviously, she has to. As far as she's aware, Charlie invited her to stay, which is the story that Alan was going with. But it was really quite nice to see her being quite positive, as that's really unusual. And there's this really great moment in the kitchen where Alan and Judith are being very nice to each other. And Jake just kind of makes a face at Charlie as if to say, what on earth is going on? Because his parents behaving so nicely to each other is so uncharacteristic. And I feel like that's something that's probably very relatable if you have parents who went through not a great divorce. I mean, most divorces aren't great, but if it was not an easy separation, then that kind of situation is going to be very, very peculiar. We then have another great scene pretty much immediately after that where Charlie is watching television. And I think this says a lot about Judith, actually, because Judith decides to sit on the sofa, the opposite end, and she doesn't have to. As Charlie points out, there is a television in her room that works. She didn't have to make the effort to spend time with Charlie, but she did. And I thought that was really nice of her and really lovely for her to do. And then Alan comes and joins them and things get awkward. Charlie gets up and he jumps off of the deck just as Rose is climbing up. So I rather enjoyed that as well. I think Charlie's response is very believable. And then the following morning, Charlie goes out on the deck again. This time Judith is there in a bikini. Charlie is obviously uncomfortable, but again, Judith says, no, it's your deck, you sit here. And things are quite pleasant. We get a couple of great lines from Berta, and then we find out that Judith's actually going on a date. And I do think Alan behaved unacceptably when he waited up for Judith to come back from her date. I don't think that was very acceptable, but nevertheless, that is what he does. And he basically complains that she went on a date, and it results in Alan storming out of Charlie's house, and he ends up going to Judith's house. And then, as one can expect, Charlie went after him because he's now in a situation where he's living with Alan's ex-wife and Alan is living in his former house. The carpet is squelchy. The carpet made me feel a little bit sick because it's very water damaged. And Charlie finds a solution. He's going to set Alan up with one of his friends, so we think. And Alan kind of flaunts this in Judith's face because this woman is gorgeous. She's called Camille, played by Nicole Forrester. And Judith has a pretty fabulous response. And basically she leaves because she's been insulted and made to feel old. And she's not staying there any longer. So not only did Alan get to rub it in her face, but also Charlie got what he wanted. And Charlie sitting playing at the piano, reacting to everything, I just thought was really fun and really delightful as well. And then we find out that Alan's playing it slow with Camille. And of course Camille is not going to reject that because, as we find out, Charlie is paying $1,000 a night for her. It's not going well for Charlie after all. And then there's a knock at the door, and it's Inga with her family. Inga, of course, being the date Charlie had at the beginning of the episode. And I just thought it was a pretty entertaining way to wrap things up. Definitely a good episode. Definitely some great moments. Love a lot of Judith in this. Maybe not the funniest episode, but it certainly is entertaining. And I rather enjoyed it. Get Off My Hair is definitely a pretty decent episode.